building an indie business and the center of venture capital. I am Alex Edmonds, also known as SupremeRumHam on the internet, and this is the Building an Indie Business podcast. Alright, hello to all my listeners in France. Today, I'm going to be discussing probably one of my favorite things that I have researched for this podcast. I'm going to be discussing how comedians relax on stage. I'm going to go over why I focus on this. I will be discussing the interesting things that I found, the benefits of those interesting ones, the problems with the interesting ones that a podcaster can actually use, the benefits of those ones, the problems for those ones, the other ones I found that don't really fit for a podcaster. Actually, that's only one thing. And then I have one that is unconfirmed. So I'm going to talk about that. Okay. So, first I wanted to discuss an announcement. I want to talk about the book that I'm writing. I'm writing a book about podcasting. I'm going to be talking... It's a broadcasting of everything I've learned about podcasting for the past year. So it's going to be a lot of things that you've heard on the podcast with a little extra content. Things that I didn't think about until after I recorded the episode. So if you want to read the book, it's free for the podcast listeners. Go to the link in the show notes and then put in the discount code BAIB. Okay, so let's get started. First, I want to mention that I will be giving no names. I have contacted specific comedians and asked them for advice. I will read that advice, but I will not mention their name. Because some of these things are kind of not appropriate, and I don't want to ruin anyone's name. Okay. So the second thing I want to mention is why focus on this. The reason you want to focus on how to relax is because relaxing will make your podcast sound better. The second reason is people get nervous on the mic and they need to learn how to relax. The third reason is I thought this would be really fun to research. People can use the tips about relaxing on stage to relax on the mic. And then finally, a better sounding podcast will lead to more listeners. Okay, so now the interesting ones. The first thing I heard, and the inspiration for this episode, is that one comedian I heard mention that he got a prescription for Xanax to be on stage, or to help him relax on stage. And so that is an option for some people. You can get a prescription. The next one that I researched and found out is drinking. I noticed that many comedians are drunk when they're performing, and so that is another option. Next thing I read about is that some comedians, they get high on stage, they smoke weed, and then they go perform, and that helps them relax their muscles and body. The next one that I read about, this one I noticed that many comedians, they smoke cigarettes while they're on stage, and I guess that helps them relax, or they can focus on smoking when they're nervous, and that way they don't really show that they're nervous. I don't know. The final one of the interesting ones that I saw and noticed is that many comedians, they're on cocaine when they're on stage. So there's a documentary about the Boston comedy scene, and many of those comedians interviewed, they mention cocaine. Okay, so the benefits of, not the interesting ones, let's call them illicit is what they are. The benefits. The first benefit is that all these mentioned, drinking, Xanax, weed, smoking, they don't take much effort to implement. You can buy a pack of cigarettes before you go perform, and you're probably performing at a place that serves drinks, so you can drink while right before you perform. Okay, the next benefit is that all these things are easy to find. Like I said, you can get drinks at the club, you can smoke on stage. Yeah, so they're not hard to find. And my last benefit is that you can do these things on stage, probably. You can drink on stage, you can smoke on stage. So clubs don't have a problem with that. Okay, now the problems with these things. So the first problem is when you're drunk or high, you might not be able to focus on the material, which is the most important part of the performance. These substances, they might make you sound worse, because if you drink too much or smoke too much, they could, if you're too drunk, you sound worse, and your performance will suffer. Okay, the next one is that you're relying on outside substances too much, and the way I think of that is that what happens when you can't afford to get your Xanax prescription, or you can't afford alcohol or weed, then you can't perform, or you'll be too nervous to perform like you usually do. Okay. The next problem is money. All those things I've mentioned, they cost money. So what if you don't have the money to afford those things? Then your performance suffers. Okay. The last thing that is a problem with these substances is you become dependent on them, and that means addiction, or you're not able to perform at your best without these things, and your performance suffers. Okay, similar to the other stuff. Okay, now the ones you can use. There is one comedian that I listen to, and what he does is he has complete focus on his performance and his material. When he's driving to the comedy club, he doesn't listen to the radio. It's complete silence. And he doesn't talk to anyone before he performs. He's just focused on his material. But after he gets off stage, he's all friendly and everything. And people know this, so they don't bother him. Okay. The next one that a podcaster can use is yelling. I read a comedian will yell at anyone who talks to them before a performance, and that helps them relax and release all the stress. And then, similar to the focus one, they're completely normal after they get off stage. Okay, so this next one, I emailed a sober comedian, one that doesn't drink or smoke, and I wanted to find out how he relaxes on stage, and this is what he had to say. Just really look at the crowd before you go up and tell yourself they want to see you and are lucky you are going up. Take that in. And so what he means is you are lucky to have people that want to see you perform, and you need to think about that, and that'll give you a reason to give the best performance that you can. Okay. The next one that I read about is there are comedians that they memorize their material. So that way, when they're nervous, they don't really have to think about their material. They have it up in their head. Okay. The next one that I read about is one comedian has a sandwich routine. So right before they're getting ready to perform, even before they get to the comedy club, they eat a sandwich from a specific place, and that helps them relax, and it helps them build a routine for their performance. Okay. Another one that I listened to from a comedian that is a podcast, he said, act like you don't care. And what he meant with this is that when he has like a special and he's recording that special, he'll get nervous. But if he acts like he doesn't care that, oh, this is a big performance, that'll help him relax and he'll be able to not get nervous and perform better. Okay. The final one is hot shower. So some comedians, they take a hot shower before their performance, and that relaxes their muscles, and they are relaxed right before their performance. Okay. Now the benefits of the ones that a podcaster can use. The first benefit is it helps you build strong. It helps you become strong mentally, because all of these, they don't rely on outside things or substances. Let's say substances. So you can do this anywhere, and it'll help you build a habit of being able to perform properly. So you can do this habit anywhere in the world, or you could do this routine anywhere in the world. You can do it in the middle of nowhere. You can do it in the most populated city, anywhere. Okay. This is an individual activity, so you don't need anyone to, memorize your material. You can do that yourself, and this is different from the illicit substances, because you're relying on someone else to help you get alcohol or get a Xanax prescription. So yeah. The last benefit is you're building a routine. So with something like memorize your material, that's a habit and a routine that you build, and you could do that anywhere. It's similar to the strong mental health angle. Okay. Problems. The first problem that I find with this is it takes time to develop a habit. So you can pick yelling, and that might not work out for you, or you have to remember to yell at someone before. And if you forget to yell at someone, your performance suffers. The next problem that I find is that any one of these takes a lot of focus. So you have to be able to focus on these things, and you focus on them, and that takes a lot of strength mentally. Okay. The next problem I find is to build a habit. It doesn't happen overnight, so you really have to focus on it. Okay. And the final problem that I find is those people that drink or smoke, they might make fun of you for your habit that you chose, and you just have to deal with that. There's nothing you can really do. Just make fun of them back. Okay. That last one's really for comedians. Anyways, okay. So the other ones that I found, the only other one I have is focus on 3 different people in the crowd only. So you can focus to someone on your left, focus to someone in the middle, and focus someone on the right. And you just switch off. And that way it seems like you're looking at the crowd, but you're only looking at one person. And so for a podcaster, this is really only for live recordings. Other than that, you don't really need that. Unless you want to tape like 3 different people to your wall while you're recording, and you just go listening or switching off between them. Because right now I'm looking in different areas while I'm recording. So yeah, you can do that. And finally, the one unconfirmed method that I found. Comedians can't see the stage. So I was just talking about this yesterday to someone. So my theory is that because all the lights are on the comedian, the lighting in the crowd is very minimal. So while you're on stage, while you're propped up on the stage, it is difficult to see the crowd. So that way, you can't really see them, so you don't really notice them, and so you just focus on your material and you're good. So yeah, my theory is that you can only really see it like the first one or two rows, and that's it. I haven't confirmed this one though. I just thought I'd share it. I don't know. Okay, that's all I have for you. Thank you for listening. If you want to host your own podcast episode, you can host an episode of the Open Podcast Community Podcast. You can reach out to me on Telegram at SupremeRumHam. Email me, SupremeRumHam@gmail.com. And then, yeah, you can host your own episode. Just send me the audio and the show notes. Also, if you would like to guest post on the Open Podcast blog.openpodcast.xyz, just reach out to me and I will give you access. Okay, have a nice day. Bye.